Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, the Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post, Parshas Vayechi, is going to look at how the Torah presents Yaakov Avinu's life. That we are given an insight into how the Torah looks at Yaakov Avinu's life, because surely we understand, we appreciate that he was a giant of a figure for Bnei Yisrael, and his life continues to influence and have an effect on Klal Yisrael to this very day. There's no question about that. So we want to see, how does the Torah actually summarize Yaakov Avinu's life? We read in the first pasuk that we are told that he lived 17 years in Mitzrayim and that he lived 147 years. Seemingly this is a pasuk which just brings a numerical, factual account of different periods in his life. The 17 years that we are finally reading, that we know about, that he's living in Mitzrayim, and then his life came to an end, living 147 years. But Rav Shimshon Hirsch asks on this, that we can actually we can delve in and try to appreciate what the Torah is telling us. Because we know Yaakov Avinu had a life which is dominated by hardship, by struggles, by challenges. And finally he gets to have a period in life which was a life where there were years of connection with his family. He's reunited with Yosef. He's able to have a life with years of tranquility and peace. Finally he has these 17 years after all the hardships. And perhaps, therefore, Shimshon Hirsch says that we should learn more. The Torah should dedicate more time to these 17 years. And perhaps an entire parsha should be dedicated as a separate account of what happened in these 17 years, what it was like for Yaakov Avinu to finally have years of peace and tranquility. But that doesn't happen. We're told just in a brief note that he lived 17 years in Mitzrayim and that he lived in total 147 years. And this juxtaposition is significant. Rav Shimshon Hirsch says that we need to understand that these 17 years cannot be looked at in isolation, but rather we need to understand that they are part of the total count of 147 years. They need to be understood in the context of the holistic view of Yaakov Avinu's life of 147 years, which included all the hardships and included the 17 years that he lived in Mitzrayim. Now these are the ups and downs of life that Yaakov Avinu experienced and that we all experience. We can't look at the 17 years, the final period in his life, in isolation, because this gives us in a way, a false interpretation, a false representation of what Yaakov Avinu's life was like. We need to understand and recognize that Yaakov Avinu had these fluctuations, these different challenges that he faced in his life. And we can't just look at the final rose-tinted representation of life as being 17 years of peace and tranquility. To appreciate that in its entirety, in the most authentic way, we need to understand that the Yaakov Avinu suffered, and we suffered with him as we read the Parshas. We understood all that he went through, and we understand also how that leads up to these 17 years in Mitzrayim. The context needs to be looked at in its entirety, and this is a message for us in life. But obviously, this will hopefully can give us chizuk for how we view our life. That there will be times where there's ups and there's downs and there's challenges and there are better times, and we can look at this as try to remove ourselves a little bit, to look at the bigger picture, to understand that there is a process here. There is a long process that for Yaakov Avinu it ended well, it ended with 17 years, and hopefully for all of us who will have a life, it is a good life with more years of the good than bad, or more successes and peace and tranquility, rather than challenges and hardships. But we need to understand that this is an entire process. We can't look at periods of our life in isolation, because this blinds our view. In order to get insight and to process our life in the right way, we need to try to be objective in looking at the whole process in its entirety. And so too this is the case in therapy. When a person comes to the end of the therapeutic process, we hope that the person is in a better place, they are healthier, they've picked up skills in order to manage their difficulties in a more effective way. And hopefully they'll finish the therapy and leave therapy in a better place. But it doesn't mean that the person can look at only the success that they feel at the end. That is obviously, hopefully, that's the intention, that therapy will help a person. But in order to appreciate and value the therapeutic process, and where the person is now holding in their life, they need to look at the entire process from beginning to end, and all the difficulties and struggles along the way of being able to identify the different emotions and thoughts and the challenging relationship that they have in their life, and how it was to engage and look at this and to discuss it and pick up skills and tools to deal with this, it would be a injustice to the person themselves and to the therapy to only look at the final result and the final feeling that a person comes out at the end of therapy. Rather, the key is to look at the entire process in its entirety. This is what therapy involves. This is what an appreciation of therapeutic process involves, and so too in life. And Yaakov Avinu and the Torah is giving us this message. 17 years cannot be looked at in isolation, but rather we understand that it is part of the entire count of 147 years with all that entailed. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.